That's when I wanted to turn around. You know, I did it for the money. I wanted to gaff him. I was dying to turn heel. I knew I'd have been white hot, but Vince had a different opinion.
That is wrestling legend Hulk Hogan talking about that legendary match that he had with the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 6 at the Sky Dome in Toronto. It was all the way back in 1990, a match that fans will never forget. But did you know that at the end of that match, Hogan was seriously considering turning heel? It was champion versus champion that night. Hogan with the World Championship, the Warrior with the Intercontinental Championship. A double title match. Whoever won would walk out with both titles that night, and the man who was victorious, of course, was the Ultimate Warrior. It was one epic match, one of the greatest matches in WWE history. Two fan favourites going at it, over 67,000 fans in attendance. It was epic. The ultimate challenge, as it was billed. So Hulkamania was still running very much red hot at that point in time. Of course, we would eventually see Hogan turn heel in '96, but that was when Hulkamania had really died out. So to do it now at this point in time at the peak of Hulkamania would have been one hell of a surprise for everybody. But it wasn't to be. Vince McMahon didn't think it was a good idea. But let's hear from the man himself now, Hulk Hogan, as he details those final post-match moments and exactly what went down that night at the Toronto Sky Dome.
You dropped the belt to him in a WrestleMania, but you kept yourself over. Then you walked out. You did the turnaround, and instead of gaffing him and turning heel, you handed him the World Championship. You hug him, and you put him over. But to me, that solidified you as still being the man.
Well, that was all, and this is, I guess this is the evil Hulk coming out, which I try not to be, but that was all calculated because Hebner was supposed to hand him the belt, and I knew if I slid out there and grabbed that belt, and I walked up in the apron on the outside and looked at that belt, and looked up at the big man and went, yeah, okay. Then I walked in the ring, and when I handed the Warrior the belt, he's the one that charged me for the hug and said, I love you, and so I went with it. Perfect. Now when I leave, and I say, this is the guy. When I leave, I was betting on the people following me going down that aisle. And that's what I was going to give Vince the hard time about. Because you watch that back, when he goes up to celebrate, and I step out of the ring and walk down the aisle, every person in that building is looking down the aisle and watching me. They're not watching him celebrate in the ring. That's when I wanted to turn around. You know, I did it for the money. I wanted to gaff him. I was dying to turn heel. I knew I'd have been white hot, but Vince had a different opinion.
So there it is, guys. How would have that been? Hulk Hogan turning heel at WrestleMania 6. I think by the time he did it in '96, it was the perfect time. 1990 to me seems a bit early. His run as the Hulkster was still red hot, but that sure would have made for one heck of an interesting moment. There it is, guys. Thanks for tuning in as always, and we will catch you next time. Thanks heaps, guys, for tuning into the video. Be sure to drop a scorpion death drop on that like button and subscribe to the channel for more awesome pro wrestling action from the WWE, the WCW, and much more.